Brian, stop the tape.
Okay, Mike. Oh, wait, rewind that scene, please.
Rewind that scene.
Rewind that scene. Rewind it.
Rewind that scene. Rewind that scene.
I'm Mike Rizzo.
And I'm Brian Bonz.
And together we are Bobo Touch. And you are listening to Rewind That Scene. It's a podcast where we go back in time, reliving our favorite cult classics from the 80s and 90s, dissecting it and learning perspectives and cool stories from all the actors and crew that learning new stuff. You know what I'm saying, Bonz?
Exactly. And on every episode, we have a good time. We learn something new, like Mike was saying, and it's always a blast. And today we're talking about one of our favorite movies from the 90s. And, you know, to all my computer lovers and nerds out there, this one's for you.
Yes.
It really inspired a tech fun vibe, boom, and a killer soundtrack. One of those movies that had a great soundtrack.
That's right.
Riz, why don't you tell them what movie we got on today's episode, even though they read the title.
Hackers, baby. 1995. Hack the motherfucking planet.
Hack the Planet.
Oh.
Yeah, what a great movie.
Directed by Ian Softly, Johnny Lee Miller, Angelina Jolie, Jesse Bradford, Laurence Mason. Oh my God.
Dade Murphy, zero cool. He was banned as a kid from the computer because he broke the stock market. It was nuts. He couldn't touch a computer till he was 18 years old. I mean, come on.
As one of our good friends who's in our web series says, it's the most unrealistic fucking hacking movie you'll ever see in your life, but it is gorgeous. One of our favorites. Great soundtrack.
It is so beautiful. Yeah, it really is. The fashion, the vibe. I mean, you even got the Trade Center towers in the movie, too. And you got old Dumbo vibes with the cobblestone block. It's such a fun movie. It's like really just about like fuck the system and corruption.
And like corporate espionage.
Eugene.
The plague. And I wanted to say he has a grand fucking entrance where he comes in.
Fisher Stevens.
And he's like, I am here. And he like sits down. It's so fucking good, man. What a prick entrance. I love a good prick entrance.
The guy he's talking to is Penn from Penn and Teller. With the long hair. It's so awesome. He's got a great voice too. And Lorraine Bracco, of course. The movie is just so action-packed. And it's short. It just flows. And it's got New York at the best time era, I feel like.
Yeah, and let's also talk about the rollerblading is pretty epic. Because in a way, you know, right now, 2021, rollerblading is kind of making a comeback. You know what I mean? It seems, even though you can't go out because of COVID, it seems like it's a cool thing happening again, right?
Yeah, it's true. One of my old coworkers used to love rollerblading, and it's a great workout. And this movie, all the crew and hackers rollerblade, and this is really about, you know, the cyberpunk subculture that's been dubbed in sort of the using, you know, unique programs, computers, like Rizzo was saying. Sort of like you're seeing these computers in the movie in these, you know, spinning phone booths. They're just going in on it, you know. And
the fucking transitions blew my mind. Rewatching it the other day, it was like these transitions are just stacked, like of like fucking old CG, like primitive CG, like 3D weird shit. It's just glorious.
Yeah, and it's so cool. Like in the movie,
dated.
It is dated. There's payphones in the movie, and there's even a whole hack about how to not use money in a payphone. If you don't know what a payphone is, obviously I'm sure you do, but it's a classic device that you'd put money in and pick up and talk on the street in a little booth. They don't probably have them in the suburbs, but they definitely have them in big cities. They don't have them in New York really anymore. Anyway, I'm getting so excited and sidetracked about hacking.
Well, hey, Uncle Bon, why don't you tell them what guests we have today? Because we're so excited to bring on the number one guest.
This actor is so amazing. He's from New York. He is legit as real as it gets.
That's right.
He's one of our favorite members in the crew of this movie, and he's also been in a ton of films that we love. He's been on the show before for our first episode ever on The Crow.
Oh yeah, Tintin.
Yes, the Lord Nikon, Mr. Laurence Mason.
Come on down, Laurence. Dun, 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 dun.
Laurence, thank you so much for coming back on the show to talk about another 90s film we love that you're in, Hackers. I mean, this film inspired us to do all kinds of shit. Rollerblade, be crazy. And in addition to that, break it to the internet. And you guys really inspired a generation. I mean, it's got the cyberpunk vibes with an amazing soundtrack. And the crew you roll with is the most legit crew, man. And yeah, I just love this film. What was your initial thoughts when you got your hand on the script?
Wow. That's a lot to unpack. Well, thank you. First of all, I appreciate it. Good to hear and see you guys again. It's been a minute.
Yes, likewise.
Casting is everything, and it is true. And I was lucky to be cast in a bunch of these movies from the 90s. Just amazing casting directors and just amazing directors who really knew what they wanted. So that I can't take credit for that. But we did, the chemistry-wise, we did, gel perfectly. Also, that's where we were in our lives. We were young people in the 90s. So, you have a lot of angst and rebellion and debauchery and smart. I think that might be the difference between, say, the 60s rebellion and the 90s rebellion. 90s kids were very savvy, very smart, very about gaming the system, Yeah. We realized that, we were against authority like all rebels, but you got to take that next step. And I think that's what the 90s was about was, how do I take advantage of this? How do I make this work for me? You know what I mean? When I got the call for the interview, it was very different from the beginning. It wasn't an audition. I didn't get a script and go in and so forth. I just got a call and they said, the director, Ian Softly, wants to meet you about a project.
Nice.
And it's called Hackers. And it's about hackers. So that was it. That's all I had to go on. So I remember riding the train up to his office in Manhattan, and it was just very serendipitous. I looked over to the side, and there was an old New Yorker magazine, and I was just flipping through it, waiting for my stop, and there was an article about Nigerian hackers, and I started reading it, and that was it. Sometimes when you're an artist or an actor, you just need a little hook, just one little hook, and I found that fascinating because up till then, hacker, was like nerd with the glasses and blah, blah, blah. And like, here are these kids in this, third world country who, again, were gaming the system. They figured something out. And that just kind of got my juices flowing. So by the time I got to the office, I didn't know who Lord Nikon was, but that was the conversation we had. And I think Ian dug that. And that was it. We had a nice chat. He kind of told me, it's this gang of kids, battling the big corporations. Mm-hmm. And I thought it sounded really cool. And I left his office, and that was it. I didn't hear anything for 10 months. That was the longest time I've ever interviewed or auditioned for something. And funny story, I'd broken up with the girl I was seeing at the time. And I was out partying in the village. Remember, I'm 20-something, and I remember I lived in the Bronx, and I was like, there's no way I'm going all the way home. It's an hour ride. And I couldn't go to her house because we weren't going out anymore. But she had a doorman building, and the doorman remembered me, And so I was like, yeah, I'm going up to see her. And I literally went up to sleep on her roof. It was a very nice roof on University Place. So I slept on her roof. That's how I was living in my early 20s. Oh. And I remember waking up and the sun has just hit me and I'm like, oh man, I got to get my life together. And then my pager went off because there were no cell phones then. And it was 911, which was my booking code for my agent. So I'm like, holy shit, I run downstairs, I find a payphone, I call my agent and they're like, do you have a working passport? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, you booked it, Hackers. And I'm like, what the heck is Hackers? This is like almost a year later, And
I love it.
And it just, whenever you book, you're happy. But this was just out of left field, and I was just really pumped up and psyched. And
amazing.
And the rest is history.
And beepers and phone booths are highly featured in this movie.
Yeah. It's strange. Yeah, I hadn't seen it in a really, really long time, and this year is the 25th anniversary. So I did take a look at it this year, and it's just amazing how far we've come. But in the same token, this word cyberpunk, it gets thrown around a lot. Yeah. But what is cyberpunk really? Necessity is the mother of invention, right? So you didn't have all these things. You had to make them. You had to make things work together. You had to figure out, you had to do it yourself. Apple wasn't putting out these things. So I think that's also a part of the cyberpunk culture. It's a part of this 90s feel. It's a part of, you know what I mean? That's something that, I think might be lost a bit because we're so used to everything just being spoon-fed to us. And that's kind of goes against the whole cyberpunk thing. It wasn't about that. It was about finding it and making it yourself. Freak, how he would, make the phones work for him or, these kind of things, So, yeah.
Was there any special actor or techniques that you did to get into the role? I know you have an amazing DJ outfit and your wardrobe with the hood coming at the door and everything. Just any special stuff you did?
I can't take credit for it. No, the wardrobe department was amazing. Obviously, they way ahead of their time. I mean, I think the whole movie was ahead of its time. But the wardrobe, we had a lot of trial and error with fittings and so forth. And, I'm the kind of guy, especially back then, I was just very instinctive, very from the gut. Wasn't very cerebral or methody about it. I'm very method now. But back then, I was like, I look, you leap before you look was what I was taught. And, just putting on that cowl, that cape, that hood, that was it. And that all happened on the day. I put the hood on and, had this kind of, Star Wars, with were those little guys, the Jawas, you know what I mean? And, it's all just a stew in your head, I mean, I've always been into futuristic stuff and sci-fi stuff and, this just gave you a license to run with it. So, something like that or the DJ scene, these are things I would have never worn. I would have never dared wear these kind of outfits, But, it just works. And a lot of the time when everybody's doing their job correctly, you just got to be there, So I just put it on and went behind the turntables and party on, game on.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
And what was it like working with those actors? Johnny Lee Miller, Angelina Jolie, Matthew Lillard. I mean, an amazing cast. You guys have the chemistry on screen that you're friends and real bandits who look out for each other. So what was it like off screen? How was it hanging out with them and working with them?
It was really cool. I mean, again, we were all in our early 20s. I think I might have been the oldest one in the gang. And, everybody was very professional and had experience. Everybody had done something before we got there. Again, back then you'd have rehearsal time. So I think we had about, I don't want to exaggerate, but maybe 2 weeks before we actually even started, principal shooting. And Ian, to his credit, really wanted us to be friends. So we would meet every morning and just do different things to develop our roles and to develop the group. I have no hacking experience whatsoever. My brother's actually a computer guy, which was ironic. But we would meet in the morning and do typing class, or at least we could look like we were typing something. They had consultants. They had some real hackers who I can't mention their real names, but they had some hackers there who came in and would, basically break down how to do this, that, and the other. We would, so we'd meet every day, and it felt like high school, basically, high school and getting paid out the wazoo. You can't beat that combo. And then again, casting, so the chemistry, everyone gelled, and, Johnny, he's just like a rock, and Angie is like air, you know what I mean? So, he was like the anchor, and then Angie was just this kind of, lightning in a bottle. So between the two of them, the rest of us would just kind of, sit in our groove. I guess me and Matthew Lillard were the comedy relief. We ended up, doing kind of shtick. I'm not a shtick guy, but he's just so, he's just so funny, so I basically turned into his straight man. And, things just happen really organically. It's not like Ian said, you do this, you do that, just following the script and just, just kind of living in the skin of these people. off camera was fun too. I mean, again, we were young in New York. Johnny had never been to New York before, so I remember taking him and Angie out quite a bit downtown. Yeah. I was kind of the man about downtown, and we definitely do some club hopping and bar hopping, and it was just all good times. And then, of course, when we went to the UK where we shot all the interiors, that was Johnny's hometown, so vice versa. So it was it was very balanced and fun. I mean, I'd never been to London before, so I was really excited about that. And working at Pinewood Studios, that's where they shot all the James Bond movies.
Nice.
That's
awesome.
I mean, I think it was 23, 24. This from the Bronx. This was big stuff
that's
for
a dream.
me. And it was just really great. Fun fact: they drink at lunchtime.
My kind of place.
So at Pinewood Studio you go. Yeah, they break for lunch, and then there's a pub on the goddamn lot. Yeah. So I mean, that kind of thing. And they took care of us too. We all each had our own Jaguar with a driver. I mean, it was insane.
Oh man.
So, yeah, we had a great time. So that fun, that energy, you see it in the movie. You know what I mean? That stuff is not artificial. It's all organic, and we worked real long hours, and we didn't always know where we were going, which was good, but Ian knew. He had a very strong idea of what he wanted, I mean, all good stuff, man.
So speaking of fun, let's talk about that epic rollerblade sequence. Did you know how to rollerblade, and how did that go down?
None of us. Yeah. I think
Park Avenue South and all over the city.
I think Matthew Lillard actually could skate, but the rest of us, no, not a lick. Not one of us could skate. So they, again, like I said, we'd have these kind of like training days before we started shooting, and they actually hired a New York Ranger, professional ice hockey player, to come in and teach us how. So they'd take us down to Battery Park, and we'd have all the gear on, he just ran us through it every day. How to stop, that's the first thing. How to stop, how to start, how to sprint. And then funny thing is. Because, we did all the exteriors in New York and then all the interiors in the studio in London, every time you see us outside, we're still kind of beginners. By the time we got to the UK, we were definitely, pretty good, which didn't allow a lot of skating. So, yeah, it's kind of funny, a lot of that outside stuff, we're barely hanging on. I mean, I remember I started getting crossovers. And I might have done that in Penn Station, doing some crossovers.
Oh yeah.
But it wasn't till London where I could go backwards and stuff like that. You know what I mean? The high, advanced stuff. That particular, I think, what was it? Or was it Grand? No, it was Grand Central Station. Yeah, that was a humongous shoot, and
that looked like it must have been a massive thing to do.
Being a New York actor, and shooting in New York is one of the best feelings in the world. I mean, I'd been working a few years before that, but I was always going somewhere else, and actually doing it in my hometown, in New York, it's just, there's no feeling like it, because, it's, New York doesn't stop, you got to stop New York. So they had an army of people, closing down streets, and we had cops, and we had hundreds of extras, and, it was a real logistical challenge, and we started really early, and I think we did the inside the terminal stuff, and then when Wendell Pierce and the other FBI guys drag us away, then we come outside, and we got they're trashing our rights, and it was just all I could do is smile. It was just it doesn't even feel like it's real, and I think I actually had my folks come down that day to check it out, because it was such a public shoot. So they came down, and my mom sees me in handcuffs, and I'm like waving, look, I did it, Mom, I did it, good times.
What's awesome is that there's old technology in this movie, like floppy disks to hold your files and beepers to use to get in touch with your friends and family. This is the stuff we grew up on. And from there, in the 90s, there was that huge tech boom with like AOL dial-up and like flip phones and computers. And so I really feel this film was ahead of its time. And even on the fashion side, like the way you guys are dressed and all the different characters and the people at the clubs really just, I feel, had an impact on like the dubstep, clubbing scene, and also some of the tricked out hipsters in Williamsburg, and ultimately this film has such a great story arc. Like, you guys are finding corruption in the system, hacking the Gibson, and we want to just get Hack the Planet trending again.
We're trying to bring the hashtag back.
What's your opinion on current day crime and corruption movies that are out now? Because I feel like Hackers was a basis for everything that's going on in Hollywood when they're basing it on real shit like WikiLeaks and other stuff that's going on.
Well, it was definitely ahead of its time as far as that. Definitely as far as, corporate espionage and so forth. We have a lot of serious things going on now, with the hacking, politically, economically. When this COVID thing went down, it just made me start thinking about what's next. And I think we all know what's next. It's going to be a cyber war. It's already happening. You know what I mean? What does cyber war look like? I think that's the thing that is eluding us because we're in the present right now. You know what I mean? But, I just watched a thing yesterday about, the Russian, basically armies of hackers. They're paying kids to learn how to do this. They're training them, you know what I mean? And what is our line of defense? I'm not necessarily against Russia, but in general, what's our line of defense? How much are we playing into it ourselves? It's so complicated, you know what I mean? It's not, and it's never going to be as black and white, I watched another thing about, how, our own phones are, we're always worried about, AI, right? Artificial intelligence. And that's happening, I'll talk to my wife about something and then my phone will show me a search, of something I said verbally. This is happening. And, it'd be great, movies are great when you can simplify it and point at the bad guy, but, what if these are our own corporations, It's such a Wild West, and that's this, I guess the weird thing is that it's still such a Wild West. This movie's, 25 years old, but still we haven't put our arms around regulations and privacy and terms that nobody reads and clicks, you know what I mean? All these things are still there. So, that's a dark, kind of bleak future. And then again, how are we going to survive, without our phones, without our ATMs, without electricity? Because we're all so wired now. We don't know how to live. We could do it, but we don't know how, And so that would be something we'd have to relearn. How does that relate to hackers? I think is that, or I guess your question is, comparatively, I feel like Hackers was a lot more lighthearted, obviously. I just painted a very bleak picture. I think for Hackers, the tech was more of a backdrop. It was more, this was more, to me anyway, a movie about friends, and a love story, It's a love story between, Dave and Kate. And then it's also about friendship. And, the costumes and the lights and the gear and all that stuff is super fun and entertaining and totally pretty to look at. But if you strip all that away, what is the story about? It's about friends and it's about community, And so I would say if someone were to ask me advice, if you're trying to tackle something like that now, don't go head on for, the tech issue. Every story needs a conflict, and it's a great conflict, and it's relevant. But it's not gonna last. It's not gonna stand the test of time. That's why Hackers stood, 25 years. You gotta have the heart, and that's what I find lacking in some things these days. It's great, to fight for justice or to take down the bad guys, and who doesn't love, tech? I do. The Matrix was awesome. You know what I mean? It's like, who doesn't love it? But at the core, you need that human thing. And sometimes I wonder, are we missing it? Are we missing it? We have, again, back then, the pager was so that you could meet somewhere and do something with a human being. Now you don't really need to do that, I've been spending so much time on PS4, right now, playing with kids all over the world, and I don't know them and they don't know me, and we're not getting to know each other, And so that's the only thing I worry about, I think evolution is great, and I think change has to happen, but you can never lose that human element. So, I think, those are, totally valid things for new filmmakers to conquer, to try and conquer. I mean, the stories need to be told, It's just never forget, what's important. And it's not, the device isn't it. It's, what are you connecting to? What are you fighting for? What are you fighting against? Yeah.
Word. Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. And I think one final question: if Lord Nikon was here in 2021, what would he tackle? What would be the hack?
I've gone through that. I even started a little sequel. Try to write a sequel myself. Well, I think he'd still be fighting because, like I said, there's still a lot to fight.
Yeah.
I think because of this character, when he was young, and he definitely, was in a demographic that was, underprivileged, I think there would be some kind of sense of giving back, some, that Robin Hood feeling that they all had. I don't think, hopefully he wouldn't have outgrown that, So yeah, I saw him that way. I see him that way as, would he go work for the government? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think there might be some in the cast that would, and that would be interesting too. You know what I mean? But I think he would always stay on the outside. I was playing with some ideas. Can't go into them now, but
of course.
That story was very open ended. So maybe one day. But that'll happen. We're all still here, so that, knock on wood, it's possible. We're all still here.
Well, thank you so much, Laurence. This is, oh my God, amazing. Brian, do you have anything else you want to add?
Yeah, is there anything you want to share about upcoming projects, stuff you're working on? We'd love for the community to know about it and keep an eye out on it.
I'm just working on my comic, Natoro. You can find it on Natoro Comic. And it's on Instagram. Just people want to follow the process. I'm working with a really talented artist in Australia, which is interesting schedule-wise, but we are getting it done, and we're almost done, and we're going to start shopping it around. And yeah, there's definitely a lot of the themes we're talking about today are in that comic. So if you dig hackers, you're probably going to dig Natoro as well. Again, just great talking to you guys. I love talking to you guys. I guess we're going to do this again because I got some other stuff we can talk about from the 90s and the 2000s. Always good to hear and see you guys.
Yeah, you too, man. Thanks for coming on today.
Yes, likewise.
It
means so much.
Hack
Thank you.
Hack the planet.
Yes, hack the planet.
Hack the planet.
Yes, thank you, Laurence Mason, a.k.a. Lord Nikon.
The best.
Always the best having you on. Thank you for coming on.
He's a great storyteller.
Oh, my God. Just to go back into the mind state, I know it was, over 25 years ago, but I would love to just hang out with Nikon, just chilling with that hood on.
Yeah, man. I love that they have the Jolt, soda, pizza up in the cola. Mix. They're all chilling out, and Matthew Lillard, he's like, his character's like, can I crash at your place, man? Like, Lord Nikon has that dope spot. And he's the DJ at the party. Oh, man.
Yeah, he's got your back, man.
Yeah, I love Laurence Mason, man. He's always such a pleasure to talk to. And, check out his films, check out his comic book, give him a follow on social media. He is one of the nicest people we know. And
yes, give him a follow. Laurence Mason Official on Instagram.
Actor.
And check out his comic, Natoro Comic.
Yeah. All right, so I think right now I'm feeling really excited to dig in and do the reread, and I want to remix it. What are you feeling?
Yeah, like what's the vibe of the night? Like, how many drinks in are you?
Oh my God!
What's your tech level? What's your hacking cyber shit?
Oh my God!
What are you feeling?
My hacking name is Lord Sawbore, and
yeah.
I had 75 drinks and 10 Quaaludes and 15 melatonins with some peanut butter.
See, my name is DJ Melon right now.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, man. Yeah, it's all about feeling like a watermelon, baby.
Yeah. I mean, I think Hack the Gibson scene where they build all that tension with fucking the plague, Fisher Stevens.
I love Hack the Gibson. It's a great scene. It's when the fucking tension turns up in the movie and the hackers are going into the Gibson.
There's no doubt. That's the fucking scene. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Reread.
There's a new virus in the database.
What's happening?
Replicating, eating up memory. What do I do?
Type cookie, you idiot. I'll head him off at the path.
We have a 0-through bug file attack.
Give me a systems display. Die, dickweeds.
The rabbits in the administration system.
Send a flu shot.
Somebody talk to me. A rabbit replicates till it overloads a file, like it spreads like cancer.
Cancer? No.
We down the stream.
It's a Gibson. It's finding us too fast.
Man, there's too many garbage files. I need more time.
They're at Grand Central, lower level. Don't screw up.
Go. Let's go. Come on, move it. Come on.
Game's over. Last chance to get out without a prison sentence. You're not good enough to beat me.
Yeah, well, maybe I'm not. We are, you asshole.
Give it up. Just give it up. Click. Boom. Ha! All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for listening to our show. We love our listeners. We appreciate your time and love and thoughts and comments and vibes.
Yes, thank you guys so much. You rock. And check out this movie if you haven't seen it. Show your friends if they haven't seen it. Hackers.
It's really worth going back and telling everyone and watching it. It's really a great movie. Even though it's a bit out there and old, it's a beautiful watch.
Yeah, it's a great New York film if you ever wanted to see what New York used to look like. It's awesome. And thank you so much. If you're on social media, which we probably know where you live, give us a follow. We're on all the channels there. Check out our films and our web series. And also, give us a DM, send us a message. And thanks for listening.
Thank you guys. Until next time. Bye.
Bobo touch.